books.
It's going to be Miller again. Keeps it. Plows his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Buffaloes. And goal. Bachmeier into the end zone. Room service. Chase Roberts. He was wide open. Analytics say go.
You're going to have to take a timeout or take a delayed game.
Bachmeier just got the snap off. Wide open. Touchdown. Mr. Reliable Roberts. And the Cougars storm back and take a 2-point lead. The around, that's Cody Hagan. Got a blocker out in front of him. Hagan houses it. Touchdown, Cougars. A 32-yard sprint by Cody Hagan gives the Cougars the lead. Salter with nowhere to go, in trouble, retreating, still retreating, and sacked back at the 9-yard line. Isaiah Glasker never gave up, unremitting and unrelenting on the play, and a big loss. They gave up 22 yards. Looking at pass, surveys, comes under, picked off. It's intercepted by Glasker on the misfire, and that might do it.
Now it's time to break down all the action. You're listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
That will do it, folks. BYU moves to 4-0 on the season. They get the 24-21 win over Colorado, their first road Big 12 win of the season. What a finish. It wasn't perfect. We saw some adversity, but the Cougs fought through it. They pick up the win in Boulder. 4-0 on the year for Bear Bachmeier.
A lot of thoughts on this one. First and foremost, a win is a win. A win is a win. I think you'll take a win no matter how hard you have to grind it out, how difficult it is to get the win, right? You'll take a win, you'll take 4-0 and any day of the week. A lot of miscues, a lot of things that I think potentially need to be cleaned up, a lot of things that need to be fixed. Another slow start for the offense, no less. But overall, I mean, there's still plenty of positives and plenty of good things that you can look at this game for BYU and say they did a good job at this, they did a good job at that. And I'm looking forward to break this down with you, Christian.
Thanks for joining us, folks. By the way, I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles with me for your Cougar post-game show. BYU gets the win 24-21 over Colorado. It was an exciting game, Alex. I think it started off shocking everybody with the Buffs going up 14-0. And
yeah, man.
I was worried watching the game. We talked about it during our college football Saturday today. My key to the game was, Alex, you can't, if you're BYU, you can't come in and overlook this team, this Colorado team. Everybody's picking BYU to cream these guys. Everybody's picking BYU to win this game. And it was a test. I knew the Cougars would have to come in and really focus on getting this game done today. They could not overlook Colorado. And over those first two drives, I was worried that was the case. I was worried that, they had the mentality of, oh, yeah, we've got this. We beat them in the Alamo Bowl. We kicked their butts. Okay, we know we have these guys' number, right? And, Colorado went up 14-0. And credit to Kalani Sitake for getting a hold of this group and saying, hey, we've got a game to go out there and play. And they did. They responded well. They fought their way back, and they ended up with a victory. So it was a really fun Saturday night.
Great response. After coming out after that first quarter, there was concerns, man. There was concerns on my part for sure that BYU maybe is overlooking this Colorado team and maybe was taking, some of that outside noise of people kind of writing off Colorado off early in this one. And it kind of showed in the first half with the slow start. Not only on the offense did you start off slow, but your defense started off slow too, which is uncharacteristic from what we've seen from BYU all season long. But incredible from the coaching staff, incredible from the players to kind of pick it up and really start figuring it out in the second half. Defensively in the second half, or in the second quarter for sure, still took a little bit for the offense to come together, but once it did, I think Bear Bachmeier did some good things.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, Caden Salter did not look like a quarterback who has been benched already this season. He came out firing, and he did it through the air and on the ground, especially those first two drives, man. He looked dangerous, and that was part of why BYU had such trouble. They had to switch to really putting Glasker and Jack Kelly as spies on Caden Salter, but he was able to put up some points, and he I guess looks like the guy for the Buffs going forward. But credit to the defense for making some adjustments. Jay Hill, figuring out what's best for this defense and making plays, and no takeaways in the game right up until the very end. And then Isaiah Glasker seals the victory with an interception, and that's always nice.
Great to see Glasker step up, man. One of the leaders on this defense, one of the guys that you turn to in these type of situations to come up and make big plays. And sure enough, in this one, right, it was 50 something seconds left, he comes up with the INT, puts the game on ice, and the Cougs will now come home with the win.
What I was thinking too is this loss partially on Dion? They had 3 timeouts.
Yeah.
And they were moving yards. I felt like Colorado should have called a timeout on the play before that interception.
Right.
And as soon as the ball was snapped, I was like, oh, this could get ugly. And Glasker picked it off. And it's like, you know what? If they would have had a timeout to kind of catch their breaths and maybe, get everybody on the same page and draw up a better play, I honestly thought Colorado, could have had a chance to at least kick a field goal and tie the game. But, Dion loves holding on to those precious timeouts, as we've seen this season already. So I don't know how much of the clock management miscues played into that interception.
I do think that there was a little bit of there was curious moves made by the Colorado coaching staff as far as time management goes at the end of that with that last drive and at the end of that sequence, right? Even the broadcast guys were saying after they saw BYU and there's 2:20 left on the clock, and they're saying
use a timeout.
They should probably take a timeout here, save some time. But instead they wait for the 2-minute timeout, which again, you save that timeout for after the 2-minute timeout, but just interesting time management, interesting strategy there from Colorado. Definitely maybe played a part into Caden Salter feeling maybe a little bit rushed, and that ultimately leads to the bad pass and the bad decision.
Yeah.
Throws it at Glasker, and Glasker comes up with the play.
That's what I'm saying, man. You got these timeouts in your pocket. You got to use them.
Right.
You got to use them. And I like the way that you put it, right? Making the quarterback feel rushed. And as soon as that ball snapped, if he's feeling like he's got to go, that's going to lead to a bad decision.
Well, and because the prior play they ran, right?
Yeah.
Caden Salter runs, slides, the clock's ticking down. There's probably a feeling there for Caden Salter of trying to hurry up and get back to the line of scrimmage, trying to save as much time as he possibly can. But instead, really, I know it's probably not the best ideal, not the way you wanted to use that timeout, but it's probably in your best interest to take that timeout in that situation. Obviously, they don't.
Yeah.
And then Caden Salter comes out, throws that INT.
Joining us now, we've got a surprise guest for the BYU post-game show. Alex Curie is going to join us.
Hey.
What's up, Alex?
What's up, fellas?
Joining us from the Lamborghini in the garage, it looks like.
Yeah. You know what this is? This is the only place in my house that it is semi-quiet.
Everybody's cheering inside?
It's also actually kind of nice, too. No, we just have, we have every age group, represented. But it's also homecoming night. So we have, people, marching in and out. So it is what it is. But, yes, all day today, by the way, I'm going to blame Christian for this. All day today, don't underestimate Colorado is your key to the game was ringing in my freaking ears. And I think it probably was for all the BYU fans by the end of that, because everyone picked them to win by a lot more. It was interesting because they could have definitely put up a couple touchdowns there in the second half. BYU's defense seemed like they had really hit that stride and figured some things out. And Jay Hill's brilliant to make those adjustments that they did. And, it was interesting right after the game, too. They asked Kalani Sitake, they're like, what? It's 14-0, immediately. He goes, that's a long football game. And, I think that a more immature coach years ago would have panicked a little bit. But that's a pretty darn good indicator where your leadership is when people settle down. It's an insane indicator where Bear has been all night. The TV guys, every radio person that I was listening to, every different version of this, broadcast I was listening to tonight, just heaping praise on Bear. And at some point, I'm having to start to go, I guess he does make really good decisions all the time. And they made him run a lot tonight. When LJ went down, that was nerve-wracking.
Yes.
To have him come back, big deal. Awesome for BYU fans to not feel like their season was put on ice there because the running back situation was dire. And I've got a lot of thoughts in my head, but I think the very first thing that came along was you weathered a storm. It's not where you want to be with an opponent, especially like Colorado. But I think by the end you figured out, BYU, they escaped out of there and they got the win. But they also showed, I think, even when it was like 10 to 14, was it at the half that it was 10 to 14? I don't think they were it was 14-10 at the half. They were still trailing at the half, but there was a massive shift at that point already, right? It was like Colorado couldn't move the ball. BYU had scored 10 straight, then make it 17 straight in the second half. And then by then, when Colorado came back with that touchdown to make it 21-17 to take the lead back again, I thought that's actually a shock to me because I thought they had made enough adjustments. But Caden Salter, they score that touchdown. It looks easy. And then the next two drives, he looks like he'd never even gotten out of the field tonight. It was weird. It was the most indecisive he was all night, those last two drives. The least comfortable he was. And half of that is the fact that they made those adjustments. Christian, you brought it up. Spying Jack Kelly. I think people underestimate how fast he is. I think people underestimate how insanely athletic Isaiah Glasgow is. That should have been his second pick of the night, by the way. You saw the other one when he almost ran back too.
Yeah.
So I was glad to see him get one because they were tempting him all night. And man, that Jay Hill defense made the adjustments. It's not the one that they wanted to do. They gave up 3 touchdowns. All the people are going to talk about that kind of a thing with that defense. It's only given up, less than one touchdown a game. Every test has been bigger every week. They've still answered the bell, and all you can do is go home if you're a BYU fan or if you're on that charter flight tonight with BYU coming back to Provo and go, it doesn't matter, 4-0. That's what they're going to say. That's what they should say. 4-0, and then lost a lot of bright spots, 0 turnovers. And I don't know what the number was. We talked about turnovers today on the show, but I don't know what the final rushing number was. It must have been it was getting close to that 210, 200 mark in those last couple of drives. So maybe
208.
Getting there. 208. So they eclipsed that 200 mark. Bear's not killing it on the throws, but who's he finding? His easy targets for easy touchdowns. And that's who he found tonight was Chase both times.
I thought the connection he and Chase had tonight was huge. I thought overall, you mentioned it, just the decision making from Bear Bachmeier, even in situations where you're down 2 scores, you're down 14-0. It's still early in the game. He was playing as if there was still no pressure on him. He was just playing his game. He was out there making the right reads, making the right throws, and I think that's huge for a freshman quarterback.
Yeah, who was more comfortable out there tonight? Like, really, if you watched it front to back, who ended up kind of progressively through the evening getting more comfortable was Bear. And Caden Salter's a sixth-year senior, right? Or a fifth-year senior. And a guy who's beaten this BYU team before, it seems like it was ages ago now in Lynchburg when he was playing for Liberty. But, he had that in his back pocket. And he has a ton of talent at this place. And for some reason, they just sputter. And that Colorado team is just it's a head scratcher. They have all this talent, and in the first couple of drives, BYU got out schemed, like insanely out schemed. And then it was just, it all went away. It was like the same people who had picked out those same schemes, instead of operating and doing something different, they did nothing different the rest of the night. That was like their best ideas. They used them up right then, and that was the end of it. And then you can't give the adjustments by themselves by that defense. I think is massively important for this team to be able to make that leap. And then you come back home to Provo. It's a short week. You got to get ready for West Virginia, who looked terrible and hurt against Utah today.
That's a great point that you bring up about, pulling out. Seemed like Colorado really put all their best plays on the field on those first 2 drives.
They were the smarter coaching staff. It was like so weird. They were picking apart Jay Hill, and they couldn't. And it was just the energy that they had on their defensive side too. It was crazy, and then it just all went away. And the momentum had already actually been gone before the half was up, even though they still led. It just didn't feel like they led still.
I was, and we're getting some comments in the comments section. We love the feedback. We love the reaction. Prestizi Updates brings up run defense was a letdown for most of the game. I agree. I honestly felt like the getting Justin Kirkland back in this game, everybody was really excited to see him alongside Keanu Tanavasa. And I will admit, I thought they were pushed around a little bit tonight. I thought that they gave up a lot more on the ground than they should have, and a lot of that is due to Salter and his ability as a running quarterback. But BYU gave up 172 yards on the ground tonight. It definitely felt like, more than that. And I mean, it's easy to say that that's the most they've given up all season so far. And
I don't know where the sack totals end up coming into that too, Christian, because that's
the 20. Yeah, there was a 22-yard sack that knocks off most of that. So it was probably closer to 200.
Right. Satuala had one that went for a 9-yard sack. And then I think Jack Kelly's was 5 or 6 too. So you're actually 172 plus probably those plays. And the number is what it is, but you're right. It wasn't something I think people thought was going to see happen. And then on the flip side, it took them a minute to get the run game going on the offensive side of the ball for BYU. So the trenches were pretty neutral for a while. It was only till the end you saw that BYU's offensive line really started to kind of grind away. But the creative play calling kept Colorado on their feet. It's like every other play is a trick play, and they're not trick plays anymore. They're just
part of the playbook.
And yeah, and they just move your eyes other places so that you have to.
We lose you, Kerry.
We might have lost Kerry.
We might have lost Kerry.
You got to be on top of it.
Oh, there he is.
I think everybody went away.
Let's see.
Kerry, you got us?
Technical difficulties.
All right.
Not sure what's going on, Kerry. Thanks for checking in.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, there you are.
I'm here.
Okay.
Did it break? Did you guys break it?
Yeah, we lost you for a little bit.
Did you connect to your car?
Oh, well, there he goes again.
All right, Kerry. We'll catch up with you later, man. Thank you for your input. Thanks for joining us on this wonderful homecoming night. See you later, Kerry. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I got to go run down some teenagers.
Love the insight, man.
Oh, man.
Made some great points.
Great guy.
Yeah, in the trenches, it was tough. BYU, I think, and I don't know if part of it, I want to say the easy answer was maybe they were just expecting an easier battle, and they came in and were kind of shocked that this Colorado team was really going to take it seriously. And we can't forget Deion's a good coach, man. I really, really like Deion Sanders. I like Coach Prime. He's going to get this team fired up. I think this game was a little personal to him after the Alamo Bowl. I know a lot of this roster wasn't even on that team just a few 7 short months ago or whatever it was. But I do think Deion really wanted to get his team up for this game, and shout out to the Buffs, man. They came in swinging, and that was apparent from the very beginning of the game. And it was never going to be easy for BYU to win this game. But Alex, I am glad that, Kiri brought up this was a test. It was a test, and every week it gets a little harder for BYU. Today, they immediately after the first drive, they had never been down this season. BYU was never playing in a deficit at all.
They were never trailing at the half this season.
No. And immediately after that first drive, they were down 7-0 for the first time this year. And they go down by 2 scores, and you've got a freshman quarterback, and it's like, okay, what do you got, Bear? Like, show us what you can do, man. And he didn't lose his composure. He stayed in it, and he fought them back.
I think credit has to be given to Caden Salter for those first 2 drives. I don't know if BYU was anticipating him to run as much as he did. I don't know if that defense was ready for as much quarterback run as we saw in that first quarter.
Yeah.
But Caden Salter took advantage of it and delivered the first 2 punches. It's a boxing match. Colorado got 2 punches on BYU, and I'm glad BYU wasn't thrown back or wasn't, taken by surprise by those punches. I thought once the offense really found a rhythm, like we mentioned when Alex Carey was on, once Bear Bachmeier really started to get into a rhythm, I thought the offense did a lot better job of moving the ball down the field, and then did a good job of scoring 17 straight unanswered. And I think that response from BYU alone, again, goes to show you how much Bear Bachmeier continues to grow week in and week out, how much this offense continues to grow week in, week out. And then, of course, massive credit to Aaron Roderick. As Alex here was mentioning, the trick plays aren't trick plays anymore. They're just there. They're part of BYU's identity. They're part of what BYU does on offense. And for the most part, especially that Cody Hagan touchdown, it caught Colorado.
That tornado play, man.
Oh, it was beautiful. Beautifully executed, man.
I will say, so still no turnovers for Bear on the season. A couple very close calls tonight. And it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, Bear's playing with his luck a little bit here. There was the one throw to Chase Roberts that literally went right through the DB's hands. That honestly should have been an interception. There was the other play near the goal line where he almost dropped it in between his legs, and he was able to bear paw it and pick it up with his big mitts and secure that thing. But eventually the turnovers are going to come, just because you simply cannot be this lucky week in and week out. They're having great luck. And tonight, again, you win the turnover battle. That's what matters the most at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But like, I am starting to get a little bit worried that Bear is going to, these plays where he's been getting lucky through these first 4 weeks, eventually that's going to regress to the median, and those are going to turn into turnovers. The turnover worthy plays are going to actually become turnovers, and that is going to put BYU's defense in a bad spot. So that's something I would look for as far as Bear Bachmeier and being a true freshman, is just cleaning up those mistakes that should be turnovers, even though they're not.
Yeah. And, honestly, there was a couple miscues that had me worried there for a second, but BYU did a good job of recovering, right? You talk about the one that probably should have been picked off. There was also a high snap situation that BYU did a great job of recovering. There was a couple times where it seemed like Bear Bachmeier was in trouble and decided to pitch it out to LJ Martin. LJ Martin got brought down for some losses. And so there are miscues, right? It wasn't a perfect game for BYU. Yeah. It wasn't, a greatly executed game. There were miscues, but I think that this is those situations where you head into the film room on tomorrow or Monday, whenever they do film, you head into the film room, you watch that, and you learn from those mistakes, right? You learn from those miscues before that you do put yourself in a situation where you are throwing the turnover or where you are giving away the ball off of high snaps, right? Stuff like that can't happen. But it's good that BYU is able to recover and not necessarily make a mountain out of a molehill, right? They're able to recover well, and they're able to keep possession.
Yeah. So you're saying that Bear Bachmeier owes LJ Martin a swig.
Oh, he does.
He does. There
was a couple times. There was a couple times where, and I think there was one where LJ even got up and like looked at him and like gave him like a little,
like, dude, really?
He gave him like a dude, really? Like, come on. But of course, I think that's just territory that you're going to have with a true freshman quarterback. That's just territory you're going to have with a young guy. But again, it's about now heading into the film room, cleaning that up before those miscues become a more serious issue in a different game.
I will say though, I was talking about Bear and the turnover worthy plays, whatever. I will say I got to give credit to Bear for his just toughness, dude, on some of those plays.
Oh yeah,
it was the third and what, like 19 or something, the scramble. And we saw, I think, the most tonight that we have seen of Bear Bachmeier being willing to get out of the pocket and just run when nothing else. And he finished with 15 carries for 98 yards. So he's a tough son of a gun, and everybody's loving it. Everybody's talking about his lower body and how thick he is and how strong he is and yada, yada, yada. And, it's true out there on the field. I mean, this is a dude that he is a quarterback, but he really is built like a linebacker. And that's a luxury to have when you need some tough yards and your quarterback is willing to go get out there and get it. And one thing I love, talking about someone fumbling the snaps earlier, when he gets downfield, he tucks that ball, and he doesn't care if he's maybe not going to get an extra 2 or 3 yards than if he was right here, sprinting as fast as he can. He's covering that thing to make sure that nobody's going to come punch it out. And I really like that. I think that shows maturity, and it shows, intelligence and awareness.
Ball security is job security, man, in college football. And
Facts.
And Bear Bachmeier from a young age, he understands that already.
Yeah.
And you see that in the way he carries the ball, and you see that you see that with the no turnovers. It's going to come eventually. That's just part of the game, but he's doing a good job so far through 4 games of making sure that he has that ball secure.
Yeah. No turnovers, and that's always great. Let's take a quick break. We will continue to break down BYU's 24-21 win over Colorado in about 3 minutes. Still got a lot to say, right? A lot of highlight performers in this game. Want to continue to talk about Chase Roberts and his impact. So let's take a quick break. We'll hit all that stuff next. This is the Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Cougar Postgame Show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles with me as we are breaking down BYU's 24-21 win over Colorado. BYU 4-0 to start the year. Bear Bachmeier, true freshman, continues to impress. Alex, what a night for the Bear. 179 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, 15 carries, 98 yards on the ground. Getting it done. The true freshman.
Getting it done indeed. And of course, you know, we talked about at the top of the postgame show, it's not the prettiest of wins, it's not the cleanest of wins, but at the end of the day, you'll take 4-0 with a true freshman quarterback, no less. You'll take 4-0 any day of the week. You'll start off 1-0 in conference play, which is absolutely massive. A lot of things to work on, a lot of things to clean up, but you'll absolutely take the 4-0.
Yeah, I'm reading through some of these comments that we've got going. Love the reaction. We are getting a ton of it tonight. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, on 97.5 FM, on 1280 AM. Getting a lot of comments, and we love the reaction. We'd love to interact with everybody, and you know, if they're intelligent enough, the comments, we will say them on air. No, I'm reading through some of this stuff, and it's got some good stuff. A lot of people unhappy with some of A-Rod's play calling. That's a consistent theme. You're going to get that every week, it seems like. I do like this. Lord of Chaos says A-Rod is protecting Bear and doing a good job of it. I don't know how Lord of Chaos is intending that. The way I'm interpreting it is that obviously you have limitations with a true freshman quarterback. A-Rod realizes that, and Bear Bachmeier realizes that. And you know who else realizes that? Colorado's defense. So that kind of makes it hard to really open up some downfield passing. I'm assuming that's why you're seeing a lot of the short throws and quick passes. But you know what? We did see them take some deep and intermediate shots today. And although they weren't connecting, all in all, I think that A-Rod is calling plays that allow Bear Bachmeier to hit the layups. And that's a term that you brought up earlier, Alex, and the broadcast mentioned it. Find your guys, find your Chase Roberts, find your Parker Kingstons, let them catch the ball and make some plays in space. And that was pretty evident tonight. I wanted to talk about Chase Roberts in this segment. 5 catches, 49 yards, and 2 touchdowns for honestly, who I think is the best receiver in the state. And again, with the lack of a real downfield attack yet, the receiving yards number isn't going to be there. But you saw today that, like, when they need a play, it's Chase Roberts. And that whip route that he ran in the end zone for the touchdown completely just lost the defender. Like this, he's special. He's a very special receiver. And, you know, the ceiling is limitless with him.
Absolutely. He's one of those guys that I think even from the beginning of the season, we're talking about how Bear Bachmeier needs to rely on those type of guys, those type of veterans. Chase Roberts is the type of guy who's going to create some separation from his defender. He's going to find ways to get himself open for you, and he's going to make plays, and he did so tonight by getting the 2 touchdowns. Yeah,
and Carson Ryan also had a big impact today. 3 catches, 46 yards. 2 of those catches came on the one drive. He did come down funny on his knee. I wonder if that's why we didn't see a ton of him after that. I felt like I still saw him in the game, though. Just wasn't really a target in the receiving game. I am glad Parker Kingston was able to make a bit of an impact through the air. I will bring up, though, 2 passing attempts for Parker Kingston, and he dang near gave me a heart attack on both of them.
Yeah.
I know he was a former quarterback, Alex, but I will tell you right now, and you may know this about me. Our listeners getting to know us probably don't know this about me yet. One of my biggest pet peeves in football is when you're running a trick play and the receiver feels like they have to throw it and they throw it into double or triple coverage.
Yes.
Throw it away, throw it out of bounds. You do not need to force that. If you throw it out of bounds, you will be okay. You're not going to lose your job as the trick play quarterback.
You might lose your job if you throw an INT.
Yeah, if you throw an INT, I'm never letting you throw the ball again. So yeah, right.
No, I 100% agree. Absolutely agree. It's fun when it works. it's not so fun when it doesn't work. And I him throwing it to Bear Bachmeier towards the end zone when there's 3 defenders around Bear Bachmeier could have been dangerous, could have been bad. But
thankfully they were both incomplete. No interceptions.
Thankfully they were both incomplete, and everything, they stay with the no turnovers. I do like BYU's use of trick plays though. It opens up, it keeps the defenses guessing, man. And I think ultimately you saw that a lot tonight with Colorado trying to guess on when to bite and when to go and when to bring the pressure to try to go for a TFL when they assumed or when they thought that the trick was coming. And I think that comes a lot too with the split back look, right? When you see that split back look, anything is possible and anything can happen. And so I think they baited them a couple times into tricking them. And I think ultimately it's a good thing and a good look from BYU's offense.
Yeah, I totally agree. With Kingston too, there's been a lot of discourse over Parker Kingston, man. There have been a lot of BYU fans that after the fumbles, they were like, get this dude off my team. And it's, pump the brakes a little bit. He's still a very electric player. We saw there was a quick pass to him where it looked like he was going to shake the defender and break open for a long play. He got shoelaced and he was like hitting the ground. He was very frustrated that he got caught. He's going to pop one of these games. Keep getting him the ball, and I promise he's going to pop. He's going to make some plays. Did notice, too, he was returning punts late in the game. And, when Tiger took over the punt returner job earlier, just last week, I guess, I said, hey, that doesn't mean we're not going to see Parker Kingston returning punts ever again. And it came today. And part of that might be because Tiger fielded a punt within the 2-yard line or whatever that was. So some decisions there that need to be cleaned up on special teams. But, Kingston, I think, is going to have a big role on this offense. And he is going to pop sooner or later. Rather than later, I should say.
Well, and the reality is that he kind of needs to. Someone needs to step up and fill up the void that theoretically JoJo Phillips left behind, right? With him going down, with him being out. And so in that situation, he's probably going to need to step up at some point and at some moment. And when it happens, I can already tell and I can already feel that it's going to be a big play for Parker Kingston because we're missing a big Parker Kingston place this season.
Yeah. One area that definitely needs to be cleaned up for BYU is third down efficiency. 3 of 11 tonight.
Yeah.
A lot of that can be, throwing incompletions is going to lead to some long third downs and setting yourself up in those third and long situations. That definitely seems like the culprit there. And then earlier we mentioned the offensive line not getting as much of a push. So it's hard to run the ball. If you're running the ball on second and long or second and medium, you're hoping that you're going to put yourself in a third and short. And that was not the case. And that led to some punts and some field goal attempts there. Not the greatest success rate on third down for BYU tonight.
And I think too, that ultimately comes down to not being able to kind of stay ahead of the chains, right? The run game at times wasn't necessarily, working out. I think LJ Martin had he was involved a lot, but ultimately I feel like he had a quiet night. Something we're not necessarily used to LJ Martin. 15 carries for only 58 yards. Yeah, that's 3.9 a pop. And so there were situations where BYU were stuck in third and longs, and I think that ultimately plays into that 3 and 11 conversion. Obviously, you want more and you want better efficiency on third down. You're right. Keep moving the chains. Keep the offense on the field and keep marching down the field and get scoring some points. But again, I think it starts with getting a little bit better push at the O-line on the first down run, on the second down run, and being able to find some yardage in the earlier downs to put yourself in a more manageable situation. And I feel like that's a part of the offense that we didn't really necessarily see tonight from BYU.
One thing that I thought was weird was Enoch Nawahine only got 1 carry. Especially when LJ Martin pulled up and kind of left the game for a second with a minor injury. And he did end up coming back, which was good. You hate to see anybody injured, and especially with LJ Martin, who's dealt with that a lot during his career. Kind of makes you hold your breath for a bit, right? But Nawahine, I thought was pretty effective last year. Obviously, he's not the guy, but I think he can come in and fill in short spurts and maybe just it wasn't going with the game script, but only one carry for him I thought was a bit peculiar, especially seeing how many touches they had been giving Sione Moa in the first few games. You don't want to lean all on LJ Martin. You don't want to lean all on Bear Bachmeier. So I would have thought that the other running backs would get a couple more carries, but no, only one for him. But, you have other guys carrying the ball a few times. Parker Kingston, I guess, got 2 carries. And then Cody Hagan got a carry. And obviously those were kind of trick plays that turned into, long plays or touchdowns. But
yeah,
I was a little surprised that we didn't see more Nawahine.
I am too. I'm too, honestly, due to the fact that Mo was out. But he's also one of the guys, similar to the conversation we were just having with Parker Kingston. His time will come, and when it comes, I'm sure there's going to be a big play that's going to give him the confidence and going to give the coaching staff the confidence to feed Nawahine a little bit more. Mm-hmm. 1 for 4 is definitely a lot less than I probably would have anticipated, would have thought. Obviously, we hope Moa can get back out there as soon as possible, because I thought the combo that him and LJ Martin had was working really well. But if that's not the case, I think Nawahine just needs that one big play, just needs that one big yard, just needs that the opportunity. And once he gets it, not only will it build his confidence, but I think it'll build the coaching staff's confidence to feed Nawahine more.
Pulling up this quote, because I'm not sure how many people heard this. This is from Greg Wrubell on a conversation he had in his pregame conversation with Kalani Sitake. Kalani said an emergency happened with Sione Moa's injury last week in the game. We were able to take him to the hospital and get that work done. He'll be back this year. We'll see in the next few weeks how it's going to look. Glad that he's safe. Glad that everything is okay. Also glad that we get him back this year. So that is a little bit of an eyebrow raiser. I did not know, you see the word emergency from his injury in the game last week. Mm-hmm. Obviously pretty vague, not going to get very many details there, but sounds like it's going to knock him out at least a couple weeks. But Kalani Sitake sounds confident that they are going to get Sione Moa back at some point this year. So the reason why I'm bringing up Enoch Nawahine is because with Moa supposedly going to miss a few games, it sounds like, I'm assuming, right? Somebody's going to have to step up and take some of the load off of LJ, and it can't be Bear.
And it's going to have to be Nawahine, right? Because that moment, there was a little bit of a moment there where LJ was, the trainers came on to look at LJ. He walked off, but there was that concern, right? Yeah. Because the running back room already seems thin at this moment, considering that Moa is out. And so Nawahine is going to have to step up in a big way. For BYU in the rushing game, because you cannot rely 100% on LJ Martin and on Bear Bachmeier, right? Someone has to be that third guy, and so this is a perfect opportunity for Nawahine, which again, in turn, why I also thought that he would have had a lot more involvement when it came to touches, but he ends up with just the 1 carry.
I think we got a Colorado fan in the comments, Tyson Smith, saying we need to call Jackson State to get some of their players again. We suck. Hey, man, I will say I like Coach Prime. I like what he's doing with the program over there. And shout out to Colorado for really making BYU be on their toes today, for giving BYU a tough shot. And it was a really fun game. It was a really fun game to watch. So, Colorado, I think, obviously it's going to hurt losing your offensive player of the year, your Heisman winner. But, a little bit of a rebuild year, I'm sure. As long as Deion's there, though, Colorado's going to be relevant. Yeah,
we mentioned it earlier, and again, Salter, I thought, did a good job. That offense did a good job coming out in those first 2 drives, but then BYU give credit to Jay Hill, man. Give credit to Jay Hill for making the adjustments necessary, for making the changes necessary to slow down that offense. I know that they still had a couple of drives where they moved the ball well, but then there was times where they had Salter, confused. They had him rushed, and so. Credit to the BYU defense ultimately for being able to slow down Salter.
Yeah. And, we brought up Jack Kelly earlier. I thought he had another phenomenal game.
Yes.
Got to bring up that sack, talking about specifically slowing down Salter. That was the big adjustment that they had to do. They had to put Kelly and Glasgow as spies for a little bit, keeping Salter contained because he was hurting BYU so much with his legs. And there was that play, the replay showed it beautifully, where Kelly is just sitting, watching Salter. And I kid you not, Alex, as soon as Salter breaks the pocket, Jack Kelly takes off. Like it's like the Greyhound dogs when they're doing those little races, and as soon as they let go, they just that's what Jack Kelly was.
Exactly, man. His close down speed is so fun to watch.
Yeah, and he got there, and it's one thing, to be fast and to pressure the quarterback outside of the pocket, but to actually, shoot out of a cannon like that and take down Salter.
Literally.
Yeah, it was crazy. So that was a good play. I mean, can't talk about Glasgow and Kelly enough. And I love that BYU has this linebacker tandem that makes plays every single week. Number one, it's an easy talking point, right? Number two, it's fun to watch because these two guys are going to have long football careers. And it's fun right now to watch it and be like, oh, we know that these guys are special. Now Colorado knows, next week West Virginia is going to know, and so on and so on.
Absolutely. The close down speed from Jack Kelly is phenomenal. There was a couple times where Salter looked like he was going to be able to, there was that one specific run where it looked like Salter was going to be able to escape the pressure, maybe get something downfield, or maybe use his legs to try to pick up something. But Isaiah Glasgow did a phenomenal job of not giving up on the play, not giving up on chasing down the quarterback, and ultimately brings him down for that huge loss. Yeah. Which again, huge play for that BYU defense. Both of them, their pursuit, their closeout speed, everything about those two makes this BYU defense run, man. And they're so fun to watch week in and week out.
Yeah, and how fitting was it that Glasgow gets the game-sealing interception?
Absolutely, right? Man. Absolutely. And I don't think there's probably plenty of guys on the field who deserve it, but I think there's no one on the field who deserve it more tonight, at least, than Isaiah Glasgow.
Switching gears a little bit, Alex, I want to talk about this, kind of reset, some of the show a little bit. BYU with another slow start today. Obviously, your first drive ends in a turnover on downs. Second drive, you get into the red zone, but you have to kick a field goal. That's BYU's 7th field goal in the red zone this year. And then their next drive, they had to punt. So obviously, you end with a win, and that's what matters the most. But there are some things that continue to pop up in back-to-back weeks, and that is a slow start for BYU. Do you think that is any sort of pause or any sort of worry, or it's like, hey, back-to-back road games, that's tough. It is what it is. BYU finished strong, so I have confidence in them to figure it out next week.
I think in this case, you probably can use the away excuse, right? Because you did have the long trip out east, and then you have to go to another away trip the week after into a tough environment like Folsom Field. But I don't know if you can necessarily. We'll see what happens next week on Friday, obviously, when they take on West Virginia. But I don't think that's going to be, they should be able to come out a lot faster and a lot quicker and a lot better at home when you have the home crowd behind you, when you have your fans behind you. There's no excuse for that offense to come out and start off slow. BYU, whatever it is, they need to figure out how to get the offense going from the first drive, because there are teams in this conference that will make you pay for those situations, right? Mm-hmm. I think Colorado was kind of on the verge of that, right? They're up 14-0. The offense isn't necessarily moving the ball down the field the way that you would want them to. And then, Colorado gets the ball back, and it seems like potentially Colorado has the chance to go up and go down, score another touchdown, but defense comes up, makes some plays, gets you the ball back. And so, in a different, maybe against a different team, maybe against a different situation, you're down 21-0, and then it's a whole different conversation. It's a whole different story, right? And so you have to figure out how to avoid the slow starts. You have to figure out how to start from the first drive and get over that hump of starting slow and then picking it up after some adjustments.
So you're saying BYU was feeling some of that secondhand smoke a little bit, you think? Bear Brockmeyer's probably missing the Provo air right now.
Probably.
Road games are tough as a true freshman, and especially your first conference road game. I don't think that can be talked about enough, especially because Folsom is it's a raucous environment.
Right. And again, right, it's a true freshman quarterback.
Yeah.
It's a 19-year-old who last week went on his first ever away collegiate game to East Carolina. Then this week has to go on his second road game to Folsom Field, right? These are new experiences. These are new environments that he's never seen. He's never experienced before. And so I do want to give a little bit of a grace pass to BYU in that offense for the slow starts. But at the same time, right, it's it's going to get you so far. At some point, it feels like there's potential for that to come and bite BYU.
Yeah. But overall, the Cougs get the 24-21 win, and then returning back to Provo next week, they will be hosting West Virginia, and 2-0 on the road for Bear. It's literally the best that you could ask for from his first 2 road starts. So really encouraging stuff. And we knew that it was going to be a bumpy road. We knew that Bear Bachmeier wasn't going to come in and be a Heisman candidate in his first year. We knew that there were going to be ups and downs. And Alex, I think it's pretty fair to say that the ups have been there, and really the downs haven't been as down as we thought. And I do like your point that you bring up, some of these teams are going to make you pay for taking 3 instead of 7 in the red zone.
Yep.
For turning the ball over on downs.
That's another thing too. The red zone continues to be a struggle for BYU.
Mm-hmm.
There was I want to say it was that chance, right? When you score 7 and then they go down, you get the ball back. It's 7-14. You're driving it down. You're moving the ball down well. Then you get in the red zone. You kind of choke up and stall up. Again, we saw red zone struggles against East Carolina in the first half.
Yeah.
That's something also that I think needs to be cleaned up, and needs to be cleaned up quick, because you have to be efficient in those situations. You have to be efficient in the red zone. And so far BYU has had some struggles in that red zone.
Yeah. And that's what separates the good teams from the great teams, right? And Colorado didn't make BYU pay for it tonight, but eventually somebody is. And so that's got to get cleaned up. And I don't want to try and be doom and gloom after a 4-0 start, just bringing things up that BYU needs to work on. So I think that's a fair criticism. Fun fact from our producer, Alma Bean. Last time BYU beat Colorado in Boulder was on September 26th, 1981, where Jim McMahon would be subbed out by Steve Young.
Good pull there, Bean.
Good pull there, Alma.
I also saw something online while scrolling through Twitter. No BYU quarterback has started 4 games with 10 touchdowns and no interceptions.
Nobody ever?
History made by Bear Bachmeier.
No quarterback ever, or just no true freshman quarterback?
Let me get back to you on that.
I mean, that's impressive. That's impressive.
No interceptions through 4 games.
Yeah. I mean, he's special, man. He's definitely making some plays, and he's protecting the football. He's taking care of the football, and I think that has clearly been hammered into him by the coaching staff smartly, right? Because that is probably freshman quarterback's biggest area of weakness is ball security and turning the ball over. So if you've got a guy and you hammer it into him, like, I don't care what you do out there, just do not turn the ball over. It's working. Whatever they're saying to him, it's working, because 0 turnovers through 4 games is impressive. I don't know how many quarterbacks in the country can say that this year.
Yeah, for anybody, right? And even more so now for a true freshman. Who's getting his first games under his belt, getting his first starts under his belt, getting his first collegiate time under his belt, to be at this point of the season, right, not have a turnover. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. Great start for BYU. You're 4-0, right? So all you can ask for at this point, and they're looking good. They're looking real good, Alex. I like fighting through adversity. I think that's the story of this game, is fighting through adversity, coming back from a 14-0 deficit. I put a tweet out like, time to see if Bear Bachmeier can ball, because that's a real thing, right? Like, being down by 2 scores, you're either going to rise to the occasion or you're going to fold. And Bear Bachmeier rose to the occasion today. And obviously the rest of the team is great, right? I don't want to take anything away from the rest of this BYU team, but you've got a quarterback at the helm of this squad, and you're going to go as far as Bear Bachmeier can take you. So I thought that was the most impressive thing tonight, was that, they fought through it. They didn't try to get all 14 points back on 1 drive, on 2 drives, right? They were slow and methodical about it, and they ended up winning the game tonight because they kept their heads. Kalani Sitake kept them level, and Aaron Roderick called up some great plays that resulted in 7. And then the defense and Jay Hill made plays when it mattered. So fighting through adversity, I think, for the first real time this season, big test for BYU, and they passed.
Huge test. They passed. You're at 4-0. And like you said, the biggest thing I think for me is that adversity. The ability to come out and not get nervous, not get in your head about rushing plays, not getting desperate, not playing desperate. Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it, right? You're able to operate your offense as you would. You're able to move the ball down the field as you would, and you're able to claw back into a game where you were down 14-0 and it seemed early in that game there was a chance for it to maybe get out of hand, maybe, find yourselves in a bigger hole. But the reality was the defense made adjustments, stepped up, stopped that Colorado offense, and played a lot better on that Colorado offense in that second quarter. And then, of course, the offense just moving the ball better. Bear Bachmeier making the right reads, making the good plays downfield. It also helps a lot when you do throw the ball downfield and there's a Colorado player who's getting flagged for pass interferences, right? And and there was a lot of pass interferences. And again, I feel like that's credit to the BYU receivers for being in the right spots at the right time.
Yeah, those players are only going to commit the penalty if they got beat. That's frankly what it is. So that's there. And there was the one touchdown drive that had the 2 pass interference calls on it, and that definitely aided it. And it seemed like that was also a drive that helped BYU find their rhythm. So sometimes that's all it is, man, is taking advantage of the other team making mistakes and finding momentum there and building off that. And, that's a sign of a really good team, I think. A sign of a well-coached team is these guys didn't fold. These guys, they were, Sean in the comments section right now putting it well, no panic at all, right? Level-headed, just building upon little successes and turning those into points.
Right. Because think of the difference, right? BYU didn't play desperate. They didn't try to hurry up and rush anything. They just kept operating the offense as they would, and they were able to claw back. They're able to get back into the game. Colorado gets the ball at the end of the game. Caden Salter does seem to be playing desperate, does seem to be playing rushed, and throws the INT. That, I think, right there shows the contrast of when you're able to not panic versus when there's a little bit of panic and there's a little bit of rush for you to try to move the ball downfield. One ended up in the game-sealing INT. The other one ended up in BYU crawling back into this game.
Yeah. Just got an update from the podium. Kalani Sitake has wrapped. We are going to get that audio flipped and ready to play as soon as possible. So let's take a quick break to prepare that audio. We will be back in about 3 minutes and let you hear from Kalani Sitake. This is the Cougar Postgame Show. I'm Christian Esparza, Alex Napoles joining me, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
listening to the Cougar Postgame Show on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Cougar Postgame Show 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I'm Christian Esparza Alex Napoles with me as we break down this 24-21 BYU win over Colorado. Alex, it was a bit of a nail biter. I thought this was probably one of the most fun local games that we've had all year, just in the way that it was kind of back and forth, right? BYU goes down 14-0, Colorado comes back, BYU goes up, and then ultimately Colorado gets the ball with just under 2 minutes left, and they've got to go 95 yards to try and tie the game or take the lead, but BYU's defense comes away with the takeaway to seal the victory. I thought this game was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and I know for BYU fans, I think it was probably a little bit too close for comfort, right? It was probably coming down to the wire a little bit more than they probably had hoped to or probably wanted to, but I think from a neutral perspective, a very fun football game to watch. And of course, BYU's defense just coming up with the clutch play to seal the game, and again to bring the win back home to Provo.
I want to know, BYU fans in the comments, first off, it was a little bit of a controversial decision to punt the ball away because BYU was at around the midfield mark, right?
Yeah.
And they decided to punt it. Really good job by the punt team, pinning Colorado down inside the 5-yard line. So first off, I want to know from BYU fans if you agreed with the decision to punt for it or if you would have rather gone for it on fourth there. I also want to know, BYU fans, what your thought process was as Colorado got the ball there on the 5-yard line. I want to know how comfortable you felt with BYU's defense, right? Like if you felt like BYU's defense was going to hold them to a field goal, if you knew they were going to get a takeaway, if you were confident that they were going to win the game on that drive. That was my, as that happened in real time, I was kind of curious. Like it really felt like Colorado didn't have a chance from my perspective. I was like 95 yards. Even though they had all 3 timeouts, I know that Salter had been moving the ball pretty well throughout the game, but it was like, this is where BYU's defense really outclasses Colorado's offense. That's how I felt.
Yeah. No, and I wonder too, kind of going back to that punt situation, I wonder too how much the miss from Will Farron effect played into that, right? Because Will Farron misses a 54. Was it Christian 55-yarder right before that, right? Will Farron, he's got the leg. Unfortunately, that last one ends his field goal streak. So I'm sure the coaching staff, to some degree, were trying to put him in a situation where they were kind of where they have to protect their kicker, make sure he doesn't go out there for another long field goal, and just punt it away, right? You have the lead. You don't allow Colorado those yards, right? If Will Farron goes out and misses again, that's where the drive starts for Colorado. Maybe it's a different story. So I think personally for me, I do like the call to punt it away because you do force Colorado to start from the 4 rather than, if in the chance that Will Farron misses that field goal, you don't allow them to start from, I believe it was the Colorado's 30 where it was. And so to me, I think that's the right call, and that's why ultimately I think why they punted it away.
I do kind of feel for Farron a little bit.
Yeah, man.
The field goal streak I think is a very special record, and I think he's going to hold that for a long time. 25 straight for him, and it's really unfortunate that the miss comes on a 55-yard field goal. Like I get that they're at altitude. I get that he had made a 56-yarder earlier in the season, but it's like. That's a pretty tough ask for any college kicker to come out. It is,
but it's not for Will Farron, man. Will Farron's got the leg for it. Will Farron can do it.
He can.
It's just unfortunate that one ended up in a miss, right? I would have loved to seen 26 from Will Farron. I would have loved to seen the streak continue. Obviously, you're in a more comfortable situation if you can get 3 in that situation, but ultimately, like I said, right? Don't put the kicker in that situation. Don't put the fairness situation where you have to blow and you have to miss an attempt and then you give Colorado the ball back on the 30 rather than down on the 4.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you what, man, another thing as we introduce ourselves to listeners a little bit, like I'm a sucker for a really good punt. I think that is like one of the most impressive plays in football when you've got a punter that can, pin them right in the coffin corner.
Exactly.
Or when you've got the punt coverage team that can get down there and down it right inside the 5. I love that, man. And I think that's a really underrated part of the game. Part of it might be because I was on the punt team in high school. That was the only time I played is when we were punting the ball away. But no, I really like special teams. I think is really important. And to win a lot of football games, you need to have good special teams. And obviously, we know BYU's kicking game is really good. Don't underestimate their punting game and their punt coverage unit. I thought they played well tonight, and obviously seeing it a little more today than we had seen. But Vander Haar came out, and the ability to put it literally right where Jay Hill wants the defense to be set up. I think that's all you can ask for.
And on top of that, when you pin a team inside the 5, when you punt it away and the ball's inside the 5, and that's where the offense has to come out and operate. One, there's not a lot of space for that offense to operate, right? You gotta find some runs, you gotta find some space to be able to do what you want to do. So that in turn fires up the defense. Yeah, and they're licking their chops. They're ready to go make a play. Exactly. Some of the comments that I'm reading here coming in on to answer your question, Christian, is they're talking about the defense. They're talking about trusting Jay Hill. They're talking about getting that defense back on the field and trusting the defense to come up with the play. Mm-hmm. Sure enough, a few plays later, BYU does just that.
Yeah, and it really comes down to daring Colorado to put together a 95-yard drive to win the game. It's like, okay, we haven't seen at any point this season anything that would indicate that you can do this, so we dare you to go against us and do it today. And
right,
I thought it was a gutsy call. It's a good call. It's the right call because we did see BYU was shocked a little bit by Colorado's offense at times, but when the game was on the line, when it mattered most, BYU's defense comes up with a takeaway to win this thing. So absolutely. I loved it, man. And what a finish. What a fun game. Not even mad anymore that it was an 8:15 kick because I'm fired up. I'm fired up for this post game.
There you go, man.
You ready to hear from Kalani?
Let's do it. Let's hear from the head coach.
All righty. Kalani Sitake wrapping up at the podium just moments ago. Of course, due to broadcast guidelines, we are only allowed to play a few minutes of that. We aren't allowed to play the whole thing, but we will have it posted on our podcast page later today. If not, it will be tomorrow. So stay tuned for that if you want to hear the whole things. But here is part of Kalani Sitake's postgame comments following this victory.
Good game, and happy we got the victory. But more than anything, just really what a great environment, college football in the Big 12. Here in Boulder, Colorado fans showed up, and I'm glad that we had some fans here too. But what a really cool environment, and it's hard to go on the road and to win games, especially when you start as slow as we did. And I say you start slow, but you have to give credit to Colorado for making the plays. I'm just proud of the way our guys responded afterwards, the grit that they had, and just keep that. We knew that we had more game to play, and so just the fact that they just stuck with it and kept playing hard. It's a huge move for our players and our program, and a great step for this team. I want to credit the leadership and the program, the players. The veteran leadership took over. Not a lot of panic, and then also with the coaches, I thought they did a great job. Just controlling the environment, controlling what they can control, and just getting back to just settling down a little bit and playing football the way we know we can play. And I think it worked out. We had enough time to get the lead and to hang on to it. So I'm gonna have to look at the film, see how we can improve. But just really excited about the fight and the ability to get the victory in such a really cool environment. And it's not an easy environment where with our young freshman quarterback it was noisy, and they played hard, they played tough, and I'm just glad. I think it's a really big step for our program. So we've got to improve from this and get ready to play at home. I'm excited for us to go back home to River Stadium and play this game. We got one day less to get ready for it, but I think it's going to come at the right time for us. What questions do you guys have?
Lonnie, how impressed were you with what energy? Like you said, a freshman stepping in there, 14-point deficit early, and command he had in the offense.
Yeah, I thought he did a great job, and just it didn't ever look like, from my perspective, didn't ever look like he was frazzled or that he was shell shocked at all. So that's a huge. That's how he comes to. He came like that. So credit his family and the way he was raised. The guys. He was a cool customer, and I love the way he was leading out there. And so we just have to be better, so that we don't have to put ourselves in a hole like that. But I think we'll work on that. Right now, we're going to celebrate the win and just the resilience and the way these guys are able to grind it out. I'm really proud of them doing that. And you have to give a lot of credit to Colorado. I thought they gave us some different looks that we haven't seen, and they utilized a lot of their skill and talent. You can tell the talent that's on their team at all different levels, and so they're not easy to play and not easy to match up against. And I thought they did a great job in all three phases. I'm just glad that we were able to make a few more plays than they did and came out with a victory, a tight victory.
What caused the slow start for you guys?
Well, Colorado did a great job and gave us some different looks. And then, honestly, the guys, once they started gaining some yards, everybody started to press a little bit more. And I think maybe defense was things were too easy for them the first three games. You know what I mean? And when things got really, really tight, guys started doing a little too much, trying to step outside their 111th. And that's never going to work. And so once we were able to just settle down and just play ball and focus on the fundamentals and the simple things, then I think the guys were able to play better. We knew that we would have an opportunity and that the games got more and more time. We just needed to just find ways to make plays. And I think after the first two drives, the guys responded the right way.
There you go. That is BYU head coach Kalani Sitake, part of his post-game presser addressing BYU's 24-21 win over Colorado. I like that last answer, Alex. I believe it was Mitch that asked what was the deal with Colorado coming out of the gate so strong, and Kalani basically said, the first three opponents were a lot different than this Colorado team. And the way I'm going to put it, I'm not speaking for Sitake anymore, like no offense to those first three teams, but like Colorado's a real legitimate football team, right? Yes. They're a real legitimate Big 12 foe. And, after playing the Portland State, the Stanford, the ECU, those teams all have things that they're good at. Those teams all can get you at times, but not to the extent that Colorado can. So playing those first three opponents probably got the BYU's defense used to a little bit of a different level of competition than what they were in for tonight. And after a couple drives, they finally woke up and made some stops.
And again, credit to Kalani, credit to A-Rod, credit to Jay Hill, credit to the coaching staff for making the adjustments necessary for making sure that those guys stepped out of that and stepped more into a more competitive role and stepped into this game a bit more. Mm-hmm. Because we did see a shift and we did see a difference in the way the defense was playing once you moved into that second quarter and really once the offense started moving the ball down the field and started getting their feet under them, the offense looked a lot better. So credit to the coaching staff, credit to the players for overcoming that adversity. Big win for BYU on the road.
All right, let's put a bow on this thing, man. Big win, 24-21, BYU 2-0 on the road, 1-0 in conference play. This is awesome, man. It's you couldn't ask for a better start from Bear Bachmeier in his true freshman season. So love doing this part of the post-game show, offensive and defensive MVPs, man. Who you got for me?
I'm going to go a little bit under the radar, maybe. I'm going to go this is a weird pick, but he got the go-ahead touchdown. He got the winning touchdown. I'm going to give it to Cody Hagan.
Okay.
For the big 32-yard run on the reverse, takes it to the house, puts it into the end zone, and then, of course, scores the touchdown needed for BYU to go ahead and put the final knockout punch as far as the offensive production goes.
I like it. And I think that score really is important. 52-yard touchdown is crazy. And it's nice for BYU to have a player that can make these explosive plays. And
right.
I like the way that we've seen Cody Hagan utilized for BYU this year. So Great pick. Defensive MVP, I got to go Isaiah Glasker, getting the game sealing interception. Can't talk enough about these guys. Glasker was all over the field. It was Jack Kelly who had the big sack earlier in the game, but Glasker was also making plays, helping contain Caden Salter after he had kind of been running around doing whatever he wanted. And then again, ultimately, when it comes down to it, making the big play to seal the game.
Real quick, before we wrap this up, Christian, just want to throw this out there. Swing Savvy in the comments says, sorry about your Aggies, Christian.
Oh, man. My Aggies. I don't know if it's because he knows that I grew up in northern that area, or if he knows that I used to produce all those games. But, I will say I am very in touch with Utah State athletics. And, we cover them here on the station. So always cheering for all the local teams. That was a rough game, ranked opponent. We were having fun this morning, though, on the college football Saturday. Keeping updated with those scores. They were up at one point, right?
They were, man. They were taking it to Vandy. Look, man, overall, Saturdays so far this college football season have been such a blast. Thank you to everybody in the comments who interacts, gives us your thoughts, gives us your takes, gives us your input. It's fun always being with you and Kiri on Saturday mornings too, as well, and being able to cover all these local teams, man. And so another Saturday in the books. Good times, and can't wait to do it again.
We'll be here on a Friday next week.
Oh, that's right.
And Utah's on a bye, so going to be a bit of an odd week.
That's right.
Yeah, that's our schedule. Not sure what the plan is for the pregame show. I'd imagine we might do an actual pregame show, but stay tuned. I guess that is TBD. And then I'm sure we'll still be there Saturday morning, 10 to noon, as always. So. And then, of course, all the coverage throughout the week. But, Alex, before we wrap up, got to mention I didn't want to say anything at first because I wanted it to be confirmed. You see the comments in the chat. You never know what's true or not. But the church has announced the passing of President Russell M. Nelson. Obviously, that is huge. A very respected leader, obviously not only for the church, but for the Utah community, the state of Utah as a whole. Done a lot of great things as a leader, not only, for that religion, but for everybody here in the state. So it kind of takes your breath away a little bit because that is a really big passing, a really big loss. So, thinking of everybody involved with that and wishing the best for everybody moving forward there. That is a very, very tough deal.
Tough deal. Tough news to hear. And prayers go out to him and his family, man.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, that is going to do it for us tonight on the Cougar Postgame Show. And like I said, not sure exactly on the schedule. I would imagine tentatively we will be on air for a Cougar pregame show Friday before the West Virginia game, but stay tuned. We will have information on that throughout the week. We'll have it posted on social media. You'll hear it advertised throughout the station all week. So for Alex and Alma producing back in the studio, I'm Christian Esparza. Thanks for tuning in. Cougar Postgame Show. BYU gets the win 24-21. Thanks for joining us here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.